The perfect morning habit. One daily ritual that rewires your mind for success. A personal growth audiobook. Introduction. The morning mistake that quietly shapes your life. Now here's the unfortunate truth. Most people unknowingly sabotage their mornings. Not intentionally. Not because they're lazy. But because modern life has quietly trained us into habits that work against our minds instead of with them. Let's look at the most common morning mistake. The alarm rings. Without even thinking, the hand reaches for the phone. Email notifications. News headlines. Social media updates. Text messages. Within seconds, the brain is bombarded with dozens of tiny emotional triggers. Comparison. Stress. Urgency. Distraction. Instead of waking up slowly and intentionally, the mind is immediately pulled into reaction mode. The brain hasn't even had time to form its own thoughts yet, and already it's responding to the demands of the outside world. Psychologists sometimes call this mental hijacking. Before your mind has a chance to ask, "What kind of person will I be today?" it's already answering questions like, "What problems do I need to deal with?" And that sets the tone for everything that follows. Then comes the next mistake. Rushing. Getting out of bed late. Skipping breakfast. Running through the morning half awake. The day begins with a subtle but powerful emotion. Pressure. When the brain starts the day in a rushed state, it tends to stay in that state. Focus becomes harder. Patience becomes thinner. Decision-making becomes reactive instead of thoughtful. By mid-morning, many people feel as if the day is already controlling them. But the truth is, the day was decided long before that. It was decided in those first few minutes after waking up. And because this pattern repeats every single day, it slowly builds a deeper mental identity. A person who constantly feels rushed begins to believe, "I'm always behind." A person who constantly starts the day stressed begins to believe, "My life is overwhelming." Over time, these thoughts stop feeling like reactions. They start feeling like facts. But they're not facts. They're habit loops. And that brings us to something incredibly important. Because if habits can quietly shape the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you approach your day, then it means something powerful is also true. Changing just one habit can begin to change everything. Most people try to improve their lives by focusing on big, dramatic changes. They promise themselves they will suddenly become more disciplined. They will wake up earlier. They will work harder. They will completely transform their lifestyle. But big changes rarely last. Not because people lack motivation, but because the brain resists sudden disruption. Real transformation usually begins somewhere much smaller. Somewhere almost invisible. A tiny shift repeated consistently over time. And there is no better place for that shift than the beginning of your day. Morning is a unique psychological window. When you wake up, your mind is still transitioning from the quiet, reflective state of sleep into full alertness. During this time, your thoughts are more flexible, your emotions are more impressionable, and your attention has not yet been scattered by the demands of the outside world. In simple terms, your brain is highly programmable in the morning. The first few minutes after waking up act almost like a blueprint for the hours that follow. If those first moments are filled with stress, urgency, and distraction, the brain adapts to that state. It prepares itself to spend the day reacting. But if those moments are filled with clarity, calm, and intention, the brain adapts to something very different. It prepares itself to lead the day instead of chase it. This is why successful people throughout history have always guarded their mornings carefully. Writers, entrepreneurs, athletes, thinkers, and leaders often speak about the importance of how they begin the day. Not because mornings are magical, but because mornings are formative. They shape your mental posture. They influence how you interpret problems. They determine how focused or scattered your mind becomes. And most importantly, they begin to shape your identity. Consider two individuals. The first wakes up every day feeling rushed and overwhelmed. They grab their phone, react to messages, hurry through their routine, and start the day already feeling behind. The second wakes up and spends just a few intentional minutes centering their mind before engaging with the world. At first glance, the difference between these two mornings may seem small. But when repeated every day, that difference compounds. After weeks, the second person begins to feel more in control. After months, they make better decisions because their mind begins the day from a place of clarity. After years, those decisions shape the direction of their life. This is how habits quietly build success. Not through dramatic moments, but through consistent patterns. Patterns that slowly teach the brain what to expect. The brain loves patterns. In fact, your mind is constantly searching for them. When a behavior is repeated often enough, your brain begins to automate it. Neural pathways strengthen. Decisions require less effort. What once required discipline eventually becomes natural. This is how habits form. And once they are formed, they begin to influence not just your actions, but your thoughts. A person who repeatedly starts the day feeling overwhelmed begins to expect overwhelm. A person who repeatedly starts the day with clarity begins to expect clarity. Expectation becomes belief. Belief becomes identity. And identity shapes behavior. This is why mornings are so powerful. They are not just about productivity. They are about programming the mind. The way you begin your day becomes the message your brain hears again and again. Day after day. Week after week. Year after year. The question is simple. What message are your mornings sending? For many people, the message is accidental. I'm rushed. I'm stressed. I'm reacting. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Because hidden inside the first few minutes of every morning is an incredible opportunity. An opportunity to reset your thinking. An opportunity to redirect your focus. An opportunity to take back control of the day before the world demands your attention. And the beautiful part is this. You don't need a complicated routine. You don't need to wake up at 4 in the morning. You don't need a 2-hour ritual filled with dozens of productivity hacks. What you need is something much simpler. One powerful daily habit. A habit that quietly trains your brain to begin the day with clarity instead of chaos. A habit that reshapes your thoughts before the noise of the world begins. A habit that slowly rewires your mind for confidence, focus, and success. In this audiobook, you will discover that habit. You will understand why it works. You will learn how it reshapes your thinking patterns. And most importantly, you will see how practicing it every morning can create a ripple effect that spreads across every part of your life. Because sometimes the most important changes in life do not begin with massive effort. They begin with something far smaller. A quiet moment. A simple ritual. A habit repeated every morning. And by the time you reach the end of this audiobook, you may realize something powerful. The life you want might not require a completely new version of yourself. It might simply require a new way to start your day. Chapter 1. The one ritual that changes everything. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and feeling something different. Not stress. Not urgency. Not the familiar rush of thoughts that instantly pull you into emails, responsibilities, and unfinished tasks. Instead, imagine opening your eyes and feeling calm clarity. Your mind is quiet. Your breathing is steady. For a few minutes, the world isn't asking anything from you. And in that quiet space, you begin a small ritual, a deliberate sequence that prepares your mind, your body, and your focus for the day ahead. It doesn't take hours. It doesn't require complicated tools. And yet, practiced consistently, it becomes one of the most powerful habits you could ever build. This is the perfect morning habit. Not a single action, but a short, intentional ritual made of 4 simple elements. First, you wake up with intention instead of reaction. Second, you train your mind toward gratitude and positive expectation. Third, you activate your body through movement and energy. Fourth, you program your focus by choosing clear priorities for the day. 4 steps. Just a few minutes each. But together, they create something powerful, a mental reset that rewires how your brain approaches life. Because the truth is, the way you start your morning often becomes the way you live your day. If the morning begins with stress, your mind adapts to stress. If the morning begins with distraction, your mind learns distraction. But when the morning begins with clarity and intention, your brain begins to expect something different. It begins to expect control. Why one ritual is so powerful? Most people believe that success requires dozens of habits. Wake up earlier. Drink more water. Exercise daily. Meditate. Journal. Read. Plan your schedule. Stay organized. And while many of these habits are valuable, there is a problem with trying to change everything at once. The brain resists complexity. When we attempt to install too many new behaviors simultaneously, we overwhelm our mental energy. The result is predictable. We start strong. Then slowly, the habits fade. But there is a better approach. Instead of building dozens of new routines scattered throughout the day, successful individuals often focus on one powerful keystone ritual. A keystone ritual is different from an ordinary habit. It's a habit that triggers a chain reaction of positive behaviors. When the keystone habit happens, many other good decisions follow naturally. Think about exercise as an example. When someone begins exercising regularly, something interesting often happens. They begin eating healthier. They sleep better. Their mood improves. Their confidence rises. One habit begins influencing many others. Morning rituals work the same way. Because the morning sits at the very beginning of your decision chain. Every choice you make throughout the day grows out of the mental state you begin with. If your mind begins scattered, your choices will often follow that pattern. But if your mind begins centered and focused, your decisions become clearer. Your discipline strengthens. Your energy becomes directed. In other words, a powerful morning ritual doesn't just improve your mornings. It improves everything that follows them. The first 10 minutes that shape the day. Researchers studying human behavior often talk about something called emotional priming. Priming simply means that the brain becomes influenced by the first emotional signals it receives. Imagine walking into a room where everyone is laughing and smiling. Within moments, you begin to feel lighter. Now imagine walking into a room filled with tension and silence. You immediately feel it. The brain is extremely sensitive to early signals. And the first emotional signals of your day are incredibly powerful. Because when you wake up, your brain is transitioning from a dream state into conscious awareness. This period is sometimes referred to as a threshold state. During this time, your mind is unusually open to suggestion. Whatever thoughts, emotions, or behaviors appear first tend to shape the brain's expectations for the day. If the first experience is chaos, the brain prepares for chaos. If the first experience is calm focus, the brain prepares for focus. This is why the first 10 minutes after waking up are so important. They act like a compass for your mind. And most people unknowingly allow random distractions to set that compass. But what if you could set it yourself? What if those first minutes became a deliberate ritual that trained your brain toward clarity, energy, and confidence? That is exactly what the perfect morning habit is designed to do. The ritual that rewires the mind. Let's break down the structure of the ritual. Again, it consists of 4 powerful elements. Not complicated. Not overwhelming. But incredibly effective when practiced consistently. The first element is intention. Instead of immediately reacting to the outside world, you begin the day by becoming aware of your own mind. You pause. You breathe. You consciously enter the day. This may sound simple, but it is profoundly important. Because most people wake up and instantly begin reacting. Notifications. Responsibilities. Schedules. Requests. They are immediately pulled into someone else's agenda. But intention flips the direction. Instead of the world pulling you into the day, you step into the day deliberately. The second element is mental alignment. This is where you guide your mind toward positive emotional states like gratitude, optimism, and possibility. Why is this important? Because emotions influence perception. When your brain feels gratitude, it searches for things that are going well. When your brain feels stress, it searches for threats. So by choosing the emotional direction of your morning, you are actually shaping what your brain will notice throughout the day. The third element is physical activation. Movement sends powerful signals to the brain. Even light physical activity increases blood flow, oxygen, and alertness. It tells your brain something simple but important. It's time to engage. Energy increases. Mental sharpness improves. Your body transitions fully from rest to readiness. And finally, the fourth element is focus programming. This is where you decide what truly matters today. Instead of drifting through the day reacting to tasks, you consciously choose your priorities. You define what success for today looks like. And that clarity changes the way you approach everything that follows. When these four elements combine, something powerful happens. Your mind, body, and focus align. You are no longer drifting into the day. You are entering it prepared. Small ritual, massive impact. Now you might be wondering something. Can such a small ritual really make that much difference? The answer is yes. Because small actions repeated consistently are incredibly powerful. Think about the concept of compound interest in finance. If you invest a small amount consistently over time, the growth compounds. The gains build on previous gains. Eventually, the results become dramatic. Habits work the same way. A powerful morning ritual may feel small on a single day. But when practiced for months or years, the cumulative effect becomes enormous. Confidence grows. Mental clarity strengthens. Productivity increases. And gradually, your life begins moving in a more intentional direction. This is not magic. It is simply the natural result of consistent mental conditioning. Your brain becomes accustomed to starting each day with clarity and purpose. And once that pattern becomes automatic, the rest of your day begins to follow it naturally. Why simplicity wins? There is something important to remember about habits. The simpler they are, the more likely they are to last. Some people create extremely complex morning routines. 2 hours of journaling. Multiple meditation sessions. Long workout schedules. Detailed productivity systems. While these routines may work for a few highly disciplined individuals, they often fail for most people. Life gets busy. Schedules change. Energy fluctuates. And when a routine becomes too complicated, it breaks easily. But a simple ritual can survive almost any circumstance. It can be done at home. In a hotel. During busy seasons. During quiet ones. The perfect morning habit is designed to be flexible and sustainable. Even on the busiest days, the ritual can be completed in a short amount of time. Because what matters most is not perfection. What matters is consistency. Each morning you repeat the ritual, you reinforce a powerful message in your brain. I begin my days intentionally. And that identity slowly becomes part of who you are. The identity shift. Perhaps the most powerful effect of a morning ritual is not the productivity it creates. It is the identity it builds. Every habit teaches the brain something about who you are. A person who wakes up intentionally begins to see themselves as someone who is disciplined. A person who practices gratitude begins to see themselves as someone who is optimistic. A person who activates their body begins to see themselves as someone who values energy and health. A person who plans their focus begins to see themselves as someone who leads their life instead of drifting through it. These small identity shifts accumulate over time. An identity is powerful. Because once you believe something about who you are, your behavior begins aligning with that belief. If you believe you are someone who starts the day with purpose, your actions begin to reflect that. Not because you force yourself, but because it becomes natural. This is how habits truly transform lives. Not by forcing change from the outside, but by reshaping identity from the inside. A quiet advantage. One of the beautiful things about the perfect morning habit is that it creates an advantage that most people never notice. While many people start their days reacting, rushing, and feeling overwhelmed, you begin with clarity. While others are mentally scattered, you are mentally prepared. This difference may seem small in the moment, but it compounds across hours, days, and years. A clearer mind makes better decisions. Better decisions lead to better opportunities. Better opportunities shape better outcomes. All beginning with a few intentional minutes each morning. The beginning of a new pattern. As you continue through this audiobook, we will explore each part of the perfect morning habit in detail. You will learn how to wake up with intention. How to train your mind toward powerful emotional states. How to energize your body quickly and effectively. And how to program your focus so that your days move in the direction you truly want. But for now, remember this simple truth. You don't need to completely change your life overnight. You only need to begin changing one small moment of your day. The moment when you wake up. Because that moment quietly influences everything that follows. And once you begin practicing the perfect morning habit, something interesting happens. Your mornings stop feeling rushed. Your mind stops feeling scattered. And slowly, almost without noticing, you begin to feel like someone who is in control of their life. All from a simple ritual repeated every morning. Chapter 2. Step 1. Waking up with intention. Every transformation begins with a moment of awareness. A moment when a person stops moving on autopilot and begins to act consciously. For many people, that moment rarely happens in the morning. Instead, the morning often begins in a blur. An alarm rings. A hand reaches out. The phone is grabbed. Notifications appear. The brain immediately begins reacting. Within seconds, the mind is flooded with information that has nothing to do with your priorities, your goals, or the person you want to become. Messages from other people. News from around the world. Updates from social media. Deadlines. Problems. Requests. Before you even take a full breath, the outside world has already entered your mind. And once that happens, your brain quietly switches into reaction mode. You are no longer directing the morning. You are responding to it. This pattern has become so normal in modern life that most people never question it. But if you pause for a moment and observe this routine, something important becomes clear. The first moments of your day are often completely unconscious. And unconscious beginnings rarely lead to intentional outcomes. That is why the first step of the perfect morning habit is so powerful. It is called waking up with intention. Not waking up faster. Not waking up earlier. Not jumping immediately into productivity. Simply waking up aware. Aware of the moment. Aware of your breath. Aware that a brand new day has just begun. This small shift changes everything. The power of the first conscious moment. When you wake up in the morning, your brain is transitioning between two different worlds. One is the quiet internal world of sleep. The other is the fast-moving external world of responsibilities and demands. The bridge between these two worlds is the first conscious moment. Most people cross that bridge without noticing it. They rush through it. But when you slow down and become aware during that moment, something interesting happens. You create a small space between stimulus and reaction. Instead of immediately responding to the world, you pause. And in that pause, you regain control. Think about it like stepping onto the stage of a new day. The curtains have just opened. The story hasn't started yet. Nothing has gone wrong. No problems have appeared. No distractions have taken over. You are standing at the very beginning of the day's narrative. And that means you have a choice. You can begin the day unconsciously. Or you can begin it deliberately. This is the essence of waking up with intention. The difference between reaction and intention. To understand why this step matters so much, it helps to look at the difference between two mental states, reaction and intention. Reaction happens automatically. It's fast. It's emotional. And it's usually triggered by external events. For example, your phone buzzes. A message appears. Your brain immediately processes it. You begin thinking about the problem or situation attached to it. Your emotions follow. Your focus shifts. All of this happens without conscious decision. That is reaction. Intention works differently. Intention is slower. It is deliberate. It begins with awareness. Instead of asking, "What is happening to me?" intention asks, "How do I want to show up today?" Reaction gives control to circumstances. Intention gives control back to you. And the morning is the perfect time to practice this shift. Because the day has not yet begun pulling your attention in different directions. Your mind is still clear enough to choose how the day begins. The 3-minute reset. The beautiful thing about waking up with intention is that it does not require a complicated ritual. In fact, the core practice can take as little as 3 minutes. But those 3 minutes must be deliberate. Here is the simple structure. When your alarm rings in the morning, resist the immediate urge to grab your phone. Instead, allow yourself to remain still for a moment. Let your eyes open slowly. Take a deep breath. Then another. Then another. Feel the rhythm of your breathing. Notice the quietness of the early moment. This is your first conscious action of the day. Not reacting. Not rushing. Simply arriving. Then ask yourself a simple question. What kind of person do I want to be today? Not what tasks you must complete. Not what problems you must solve. But who you want to be. Calm. Focused. Patient. Disciplined. Positive. This question shifts your brain into a powerful mode of thinking. Instead of focusing on circumstances, it focuses on identity. And identity shapes behavior. When you choose the kind of person you want to be, your mind begins searching for ways to act accordingly. It's like setting the internal compass of your day. Why the phone is the enemy of intention. Let's talk about the phone again for a moment. Not because technology is bad. But because its timing is critical. When you check your phone immediately after waking up, you hand the steering wheel of your mind to other people. Their messages become your first thoughts. Their needs become your first priorities. Their opinions shape your emotional state. In other words, your day begins externally controlled. Waking up with intention means reclaiming that control. Your phone can wait 10 minutes. The news can wait. Messages can wait. But the mental direction of your day cannot. Because once the brain enters reaction mode, it tends to stay there. The first few minutes of your morning are like wet cement. Whatever impressions are made during that time begin to harden into the emotional tone of the day. That is why protecting those minutes is so important. They are small in length, but enormous in influence. The quiet discipline of awareness. At first, this practice may feel strange. Most people are not used to sitting quietly after waking up. The mind may feel restless. You may feel the urge to grab your phone or jump out of bed. That's normal. Because you are interrupting an automatic habit. But with repetition, something interesting begins to happen. The quiet moment becomes enjoyable. Instead of feeling rushed in the morning, you begin to appreciate the calm. You start noticing things you previously ignored. The feeling of the air. The light entering the room. The sense of beginning again. This small ritual becomes a form of mental preparation. Just like athletes warm up before a game, you are warming up your awareness before the day begins. And that preparation gives you a subtle advantage. The identity of an intentional person. Over time, waking up with intention begins to shape how you see yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is constantly rushed. You stop believing that your mornings must be chaotic. Instead, a new identity forms. I am someone who begins the day consciously. This identity may seem small, but it is powerful. Because once you see yourself as an intentional person, your behavior begins aligning with that belief. You become more thoughtful in your decisions. More patient in stressful moments. More aware of your habits. All because you started the day with awareness. The domino effect of a calm start. One of the most fascinating aspects of waking up with intention is the domino effect it creates. When the first moments of your day are calm and deliberate, your brain carries that calmness forward. You approach breakfast more mindfully. You begin work with clearer focus. You respond to problems with less emotional reactivity. Your patience increases. Your attention improves. And even when challenges arise, you are less likely to feel overwhelmed. All of this begins with a simple pause at the start of the morning. A pause that reminds your brain. I am not rushing into the day. I am stepping into it deliberately. A story of a different morning. Consider a simple story. Two individuals wake up at the same time. Both have demanding schedules. Both have responsibilities waiting for them. The first person wakes up and immediately grabs their phone. Within seconds they see messages from work. An unexpected problem appears. Stress begins building. Their mind jumps ahead to everything that could go wrong. Before they even leave the bed, the day already feels heavy. Now imagine the second person. The alarm rings. They take 3 slow breaths. They sit quietly for a moment. They ask themselves one question. How do I want to show up today? The answer is simple. Focused. Calm. Disciplined. Then they begin the day. The same responsibilities exist. The same challenges are waiting. But their mental starting point is completely different. One day begins with reaction. The other begins with intention. Over weeks and months, those different beginnings lead to very different lives. The first step toward control. Waking up with intention does not solve every problem in your life. But it does something incredibly valuable. It gives you a moment of control. And control over the beginning of your day often spreads to the rest of it. Because once you realize you can choose how the morning begins, you start realizing something even bigger. You can choose how you respond to the day itself. You can choose your attitude. You can choose your focus. You can choose the person you become. All beginning with a few quiet minutes when the alarm rings. Preparing for the next step. Waking up with intention creates the foundation for everything that follows. It clears the mental noise. It centers your awareness. It reminds you that the day belongs to you, not to your notifications. Once that foundation is in place, you are ready for the next powerful step in the perfect morning habit. Because awareness alone is powerful. But awareness combined with positive mental direction becomes transformative. In the next chapter, you will learn how to train your mind toward gratitude, optimism, and possibility, emotional states that dramatically change how your brain interprets the world. And when practiced consistently, these mental patterns can begin to reshape not only your mornings, but the entire direction of your life. Chapter 3. Step 2, Training Your Mind for Positivity. Once you have learned to wake up with intention, something powerful happens. You create a small space between yourself and the noise of the world. In that space, your mind is calm. Your thoughts are not yet scattered. Your emotions are still flexible. This moment, quiet, simple, and often overlooked, is one of the most powerful mental windows of the entire day. Because whatever emotional direction your mind takes in those early minutes often becomes the emotional tone for everything that follows. If your mind drifts toward worry, the day often feels heavy. If your mind drifts toward frustration, small problems feel bigger than they actually are. But if your mind begins with gratitude, optimism, and purpose, your brain starts interpreting the world in a very different way. That is why the second step of the perfect morning habit is so important. It is called training your mind for positivity. Not fake positivity. Not forced happiness. But a deliberate shift in your mental focus toward thoughts that strengthen confidence, resilience, and possibility. Because the truth is this. Your brain is always looking for evidence to support whatever emotional state it is currently in. If you begin the day with negativity, your brain will scan the environment for problems. If you begin the day with gratitude and optimism, your brain will scan the environment for opportunities. This is not just motivational advice. It is how the human mind is designed to work. And once you understand this mechanism, you can begin using it intentionally. The brain's built-in bias. Human beings evolved in environments where survival depended on detecting threats. For thousands of years, noticing danger quickly could mean the difference between life and death. Because of this, the brain developed what psychologists call a negativity bias. Simply put, the mind is naturally more sensitive to negative experiences than positive ones. A single criticism can stay in your mind all day. But a compliment may fade within minutes. A small problem can dominate your thoughts. But many positive events can pass almost unnoticed. This bias once helped humans survive. But in modern life, it can quietly undermine our mindset. Left unchecked, the brain begins scanning the world for stress, problems, and risks. And when that happens early in the morning, it can influence the way the entire day feels. But here is the empowering truth. Although the brain has a negativity bias, it also has something else, plasticity. Neuroplasticity means that the brain can change and adapt based on repeated mental patterns. In other words, the way you think repeatedly becomes the way your brain naturally thinks. And that means you can train your mind to focus on more empowering emotional states. The morning is the perfect time to do this. Why morning emotions matter so much. When you first wake up, your brain is transitioning from a slower, reflective state into full alertness. During this period, your thoughts and emotions sink deeper into your subconscious patterns. This means the emotional tone you set in the morning has a stronger influence than emotions that appear later in the day. Think of it like planting seeds. Morning thoughts are seeds planted in fresh soil. Whatever you plant tends to grow throughout the day. If the seed is stress, your mind keeps returning to stress. If the seed is gratitude, your mind keeps noticing things to appreciate. This is why many highly successful people guard their morning mindset carefully. They understand something that most people overlook. Your emotional state is not just something that happens to you. It is something you can train. And one of the simplest ways to train it is through 3 powerful mental practices. Gratitude. Visualization. Affirmation. Each of these practices gently guides the brain toward a more empowering emotional direction. Let's explore them one by one. Gratitude, the simplest mental shift. Gratitude is often misunderstood. People sometimes think gratitude means pretending life is perfect. Or ignoring problems. But true gratitude is something much simpler. It is the act of recognizing what is already good in your life. And when practiced intentionally, gratitude has remarkable psychological effects. Studies in positive psychology show that gratitude activates parts of the brain associated with happiness, emotional regulation, and resilience. When you focus on something you appreciate, the brain releases chemicals that help stabilize mood and reduce stress. In simple terms, gratitude shifts the brain from defense mode to appreciation mode. This shift changes how you perceive the world. Small frustrations lose some of their power. Challenges feel more manageable. Opportunities become easier to notice. And the beautiful thing about gratitude is that it requires very little time. During your morning ritual, you can simply ask yourself a question. What are 3 things I'm grateful for today? They don't have to be extraordinary. In fact, the most powerful gratitude often comes from simple things. The comfort of your bed. The opportunity of a new day. The presence of people who care about you. The chance to grow, improve, or move forward. As you think about these things, allow yourself to feel the appreciation for a moment. Not just list them quickly, but actually experience the emotion. Because emotion is what teaches the brain. When gratitude becomes part of your morning, something subtle begins to change. Your brain starts scanning the world for more things to appreciate. And slowly, your overall outlook becomes more optimistic. Visualization, rehearsing success. The second practice that strengthens your morning mindset is visualization. Visualization is the act of mentally imagining a positive future outcome. It is not daydreaming. And it is not wishful thinking. It is a form of mental rehearsal. Athletes have used visualization for decades. Before competitions, many elite athletes spend time imagining their performance in detail. They picture themselves moving confidently. Executing their skills smoothly. Crossing the finish line successfully. Why do they do this? Because the brain responds to vivid mental imagery almost as if the experience were real. When you visualize success, your brain begins building neural pathways associated with confidence and achievement. It becomes familiar with the idea of succeeding. This reduces anxiety and increases motivation. In your morning ritual, visualization can be incredibly powerful. Take a moment to imagine the day ahead. See yourself moving through the day calmly and confidently. Picture yourself handling challenges with patience. Imagine completing your most important task successfully. Feel the sense of accomplishment that comes with progress. You are not predicting the future. You are training your brain to expect success. And expectations influence behavior. When your mind expects positive outcomes, you approach situations with greater confidence and persistence. Affirmations, programming identity. The third practice that strengthens morning positivity is the use of affirmations. Affirmations are simple statements that reinforce empowering beliefs about yourself. They are not magic words. But they are powerful tools for shaping identity. Remember something important about the brain. It is constantly forming beliefs about who you are. And those beliefs influence your behavior. If someone repeatedly thinks, "I'm not disciplined," their actions will often reflect that belief. But if someone repeatedly reinforces the idea, "I am disciplined and focused," the brain gradually begins aligning behavior with that identity. Morning affirmations work because they reach the mind before the day's distractions begin. In those early minutes, the brain is more receptive to internal messages. Examples of affirmations might include: I am focused and capable. I handle challenges with calm confidence. I am growing stronger and wiser every day. I show up with discipline and purpose. The key is to say the words slowly and consciously. Not mechanically. Allow yourself to feel the meaning behind them. Because emotion strengthens belief. Over time, these repeated messages help reshape the story your brain tells about who you are. And identity is one of the strongest forces guiding behavior. The combined power of these practices. Each of these practices, gratitude, visualization, and affirmation, is powerful on its own. But together, they create something remarkable. Gratitude grounds you in appreciation. Visualization directs your mind toward possibility. Affirmations reinforce your identity. In just a few minutes, your brain moves from passive awareness into an emotionally empowered state. And once your emotional state improves, your behavior naturally follows. You become more patient, more focused, more resilient. Because your mind begins the day believing something important. That the day ahead is full of potential. A morning story. Consider a simple example. A young entrepreneur once struggled with constant anxiety about his business. Every morning he woke up thinking about problems. Unanswered emails. Financial pressure. Uncertain outcomes. His mind immediately filled with stress. Over time, he noticed something troubling. Even when things went well, he still felt anxious. Because his brain had been trained to expect problems. So he decided to change his mornings. Each day, before checking his phone, he spent 5 minutes practicing gratitude, visualization, and affirmations. At first, it felt awkward. But after several weeks, something surprising happened. He began approaching work differently. Instead of expecting failure, he expected progress. Instead of fearing problems, he looked for solutions. His confidence improved. His decision-making became clearer. The external challenges of his business had not disappeared. But his internal response to them had changed completely. And that change started every morning. Positivity is a skill. Many people believe optimism is a personality trait. Something you either have or you don't. But psychology tells us something different. Optimism is often a learned mental habit. The more you practice directing your mind toward possibility and appreciation, the more natural it becomes. Just like strengthening a muscle, the brain strengthens the thought patterns it uses most often. And morning practice accelerates that process. Because you are training your mind before the day's distractions weaken your focus. Preparing the mind for energy. By the time you complete this second step of the perfect morning habit, something important has already happened. You woke up with awareness. You directed your mind toward gratitude and possibility. Your emotional state has improved. Your outlook has shifted. But one more element is needed before the ritual is complete. Your body. Because even the most positive mindset becomes limited if your energy is low. Energy fuels focus. Energy fuels discipline. Energy fuels productivity. And the fastest way to create energy is not through caffeine or motivation. It is through movement. In the next chapter, we will explore how activating your body in the morning can dramatically increase mental clarity, productivity, and confidence. Because when the mind and body work together, your entire day begins with power. Chapter 4. Step 3, Activating the Body. By the time you reach this stage of the perfect morning habit, something important has already happened. You woke up with intention instead of reaction. You trained your mind toward gratitude, optimism, and possibility. Your thoughts are clearer. Your emotions are steadier. But there is still one powerful element missing. Your energy. Because no matter how positive your mindset may be, if your body feels sluggish, tired, or slow, your ability to act on that mindset becomes limited. Think about the difference between a day when you feel energized and a day when you feel physically drained. On energetic days, everything feels easier. Your focus sharpens. Your motivation increases. Tasks that once seemed difficult suddenly feel manageable. But on low-energy days, even small responsibilities can feel overwhelming. Your concentration fades. Your patience shortens. Your productivity slows down. Energy is the fuel that powers everything else. And one of the fastest, most reliable ways to increase your energy in the morning is through something incredibly simple. Movement. Not extreme workouts. Not complicated routines. Just intentional physical activation. Because when you move your body, you send a powerful signal to your brain. The signal says, the day has begun. Why the body matters for the mind. For a long time, people believed that mental performance and physical activity were separate. One was for the brain. The other was for the body. But modern science tells a very different story. Your brain and your body are deeply connected systems. When the body moves, the brain changes. Blood flow increases. Oxygen levels rise. Neurotransmitters that influence mood and focus are released. In simple terms, movement wakes up your brain. That is why people often feel mentally sharper after exercise. It is not just psychological. It is biological. Your brain literally receives more fuel. This is especially important in the morning. After several hours of sleep, your body is still transitioning from rest to activity. Your muscles are relaxed. Your circulation is slower. Your nervous system is moving gradually from sleep mode to alertness. When you activate your body, you accelerate this transition. You turn the mental lights on faster. The energy switch. Think of movement as a switch. When you remain still for too long after waking up, your body continues operating in a low-energy state. Your mind feels foggy. Your alertness rises slowly. But when you begin moving, the switch flips. Your heart rate increases slightly. Your breathing deepens. Your muscles activate. The brain responds immediately. Alertness improves. Mood improves. Focus improves. It's as if your entire system wakes up more quickly. This is why many successful individuals include some form of physical activity in their morning routine. Not because they are obsessed with exercise, but because they understand something simple. Energy early in the day multiplies productivity later. Movement is not about intensity. At this point, some people begin imagining intense workouts. Long runs. Heavy lifting sessions. High-intensity training. And while those activities are wonderful for overall health, they are not required for the perfect morning habit. The purpose of morning movement is not to exhaust the body. It is simply to activate it. Even 5 to 10 minutes of light activity can dramatically improve energy and mental clarity. The goal is to wake up the body gently but intentionally. This could include simple stretching. A short walk. Light yoga. Jumping jacks. Push-ups. A brief mobility routine. Or any movement that increases circulation and brings energy into the body. Remember, this ritual is meant to be sustainable. Something you can do every morning without resistance. Because consistency is far more powerful than intensity. Why movement improves mood. Another fascinating effect of morning movement is its impact on emotional state. Physical activity stimulates the release of chemicals in the brain called endorphins. Endorphins are often referred to as feel-good chemicals. They reduce stress. They improve mood. They create a subtle sense of well-being. Exercise also helps regulate cortisol, the hormone associated with stress. When cortisol levels become unbalanced, people often feel anxious, tense, or overwhelmed. Movement helps stabilize this response. This means that activating your body in the morning not only increases energy. It also strengthens emotional resilience. You begin the day with a body and brain that are better prepared to handle challenges. Movement and mental clarity. There is another powerful reason to move your body in the morning. It improves cognitive function. Studies have shown that even brief physical activity can enhance memory, attention, and problem-solving ability. Why? Because movement stimulates areas of the brain responsible for executive function. Executive function includes skills such as planning, decision-making, and concentration. These are the very skills you rely on most during a productive day. So when you move your body in the morning, you are not just exercising your muscles. You are preparing your brain for higher performance. Your thinking becomes sharper. Your ability to focus improves. Your creativity increases. In a very real sense, movement upgrades your brain's operating system for the day. The momentum effect. There is also a psychological benefit to morning movement. It creates momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in behavior. When you complete one positive action, your brain becomes more likely to continue with other positive actions. Think about how a productive day often begins. You accomplish one small task. That success encourages the next task. And before you know it, you are moving through your responsibilities with confidence and energy. Morning movement works the same way. It gives you an early win. You have already done something healthy and intentional. Your brain registers that success. And that success influences your identity. You begin thinking, I am someone who takes action. I am someone who starts the day strong. That identity creates motivation for everything that follows. A simple morning activation routine. Let's look at a simple example of how morning movement might look in practice. Remember, the goal is activation, not exhaustion. You might begin with stretching. Reach your arms overhead. Stretch your back. Loosen your shoulders and neck. Allow your body to wake up slowly. Then move into light activity. A few push-ups. A few squats. Jumping jacks. Or simply walking around the room with deep breaths. The entire sequence might last 5 minutes. Or 10. What matters most is that your body begins moving intentionally. Your circulation improves. Your breathing deepens. Your muscles engage. And gradually, your energy rises. The mind-body connection. One of the most beautiful aspects of morning movement is how it connects the mind and body. In earlier steps of the perfect morning habit, you trained your thoughts and emotions. Now you bring the body into alignment with those intentions. Your mind is optimistic. Your body becomes energized. Your focus sharpens. Everything begins working together. And when mind and body align, performance improves dramatically. Because you are not fighting against fatigue or mental resistance. You are working with your natural biology. A story of energy. Consider the story of a writer who struggled for years with morning productivity. Every day he woke up intending to write. But when he sat down at his desk, his mind felt foggy. His energy felt low. He found himself staring at the screen without inspiration. Eventually, he discovered something interesting. On days when he walked for 10 minutes before writing, his mind worked better. Ideas flowed more easily. His concentration improved. So he made the walk part of his daily morning ritual. Within weeks, his writing output increased dramatically. Nothing else in his routine had changed. The difference was simply movement. His brain was receiving more oxygen, more blood flow, and more stimulation. Energy had unlocked clarity. Movement as a signal to yourself. Morning movement also sends an important psychological message. It tells your brain that you value your energy and well-being. This may seem small, but it reinforces a powerful identity. You begin seeing yourself as someone who invests in their health. Someone who prepares themselves physically for the day ahead. An identity influences discipline. When you believe you are someone who cares for your energy, you naturally make choices that support that belief. Preparing for the final step. By the time you finish this third step of the perfect morning habit, something remarkable has already happened. You woke up with awareness. You trained your mind toward positivity. You activated your body. Your mental state is strong. Your emotional state is balanced. Your physical energy is rising. But one final element remains. Direction. Because energy without direction can easily become distraction. You can feel motivated and still spend the day working on things that don't truly matter. That is why the final step of the perfect morning habit focuses on something essential. Programming your focus. In the next chapter, you will learn how to set powerful daily intentions that guide your energy toward the tasks and goals that truly move your life forward. Because when clarity joins awareness, positivity, and energy. Your mornings become more than a routine. They become a launch pad for success. Chapter 5. Step 4. Programming your focus for the day. By now, your morning ritual has already created something powerful. You have woken up with intention instead of reaction. You have trained your mind toward gratitude and optimism. You have activated your body through movement and energy. Your mind is clear. Your emotions are steady. Your body is awake. But one final element is needed to turn this powerful state into meaningful progress. That element is focus. Because energy without direction can easily become distraction. You can wake up feeling motivated, positive, and energetic, and still spend the day busy with things that do not truly move your life forward. This is one of the most common traps people fall into. They fill their days with activity. But activity is not the same as progress. You can answer dozens of emails, attend multiple meetings, complete small tasks, and still end the day feeling like nothing important was accomplished. Why does this happen? Because without clear focus, the day becomes controlled by urgency rather than importance. And urgency has a way of stealing attention from what truly matters. That is why the final step of the perfect morning habit is so important. It is called programming your focus for the day. This step ensures that the energy and clarity you have built in the earlier parts of the ritual are directed toward meaningful action. In simple terms, it answers one powerful question. What truly matters today? The danger of an unplanned day. Most people do not consciously decide how their day will unfold. Instead, they react to whatever appears first. An email arrives. A request appears. A notification demands attention. Before long, the day becomes a series of reactions to other people's priorities. This reactive approach often feels productive in the moment. But by the end of the day, something feels off. You were busy. You worked hard. But the most important tasks remained unfinished. This happens because the brain naturally prioritizes what feels urgent, not necessarily what is important. Urgent tasks create immediate pressure. They demand attention quickly. But important tasks often require deeper focus and longer effort. Writing. Planning. Learning. Building something meaningful. These tasks rarely shout for attention. They quietly wait. And unless you intentionally choose them, they often get pushed aside. Programming your focus in the morning protects those important priorities. It ensures that the most valuable work receives your attention before the noise of the world grows louder. The power of a clear target. Imagine an archer preparing to shoot an arrow. Before releasing the arrow, the archer does something very simple. They choose a target. Without a target, the arrow has nowhere to go. Energy alone is not enough. Direction is required. Your daily focus works the same way. You may wake up with energy and motivation, but if you do not choose a clear target for the day, that energy will scatter. Distractions will pull you in different directions. But when you choose a clear focus, your attention becomes sharper. Your decisions become easier. Your productivity increases. Because every action begins moving towards something specific. That is the goal of this final step. To choose the targets that matter most. The Rule of 3. One of the most effective ways to program your focus is through a simple method called the Rule of 3. Instead of creating long to-do lists filled with dozens of tasks, you identify the 3 most important things you want to accomplish today. Just 3. This may seem surprisingly small. But there is a reason for this limitation. The human brain performs best when attention is concentrated on a few priorities rather than scattered across many. When your list becomes too long, your mind feels overwhelmed. You jump between tasks. Focus weakens. And progress slows down. But when you choose 3 key priorities, your mind becomes clear. You know exactly what success for the day looks like. These 3 priorities should represent the tasks that truly move your life forward. They might include completing an important work project, making progress on a personal goal, learning something valuable, building a relationship, improving your health. The specific priorities will differ for each person, but the principle remains the same. Choose the actions that create the greatest impact. Visualizing the day ahead. Once you have identified your 3 priorities, take a moment to visualize yourself completing them. Picture the process. Imagine sitting down to work on the first task. See yourself focusing deeply. Overcoming distractions. Making steady progress. Then imagine the satisfaction of finishing. Visualization strengthens commitment. When your brain sees a clear mental picture of success, it becomes easier to follow through. Your mind begins preparing itself for the effort required. This practice also reduces hesitation. Instead of approaching the task with uncertainty, your brain already feels familiar with the process. You have mentally rehearsed success. And that rehearsal increases the likelihood of real-world action. Creating a focus filter. Another benefit of programming your focus in the morning is that it creates what we can call a focus filter. Throughout the day, countless opportunities and requests will compete for your attention. Emails, messages, unexpected tasks. Some of these may be important. Others may simply be distractions disguised as urgency. Without a clear focus, it becomes difficult to distinguish between the two. But when you know your 3 priorities, a filter appears. You begin asking yourself a simple question. Does this help me move closer to today's priorities? If the answer is yes, you give it attention. If the answer is no, you delay it or decline it. This filter protects your time and energy. It allows you to stay aligned with what truly matters. The psychological effect of completion. Another reason the rule of 3 is powerful lies in something called completion psychology. The brain loves finishing things. When you complete a meaningful task, your brain releases dopamine, a chemical associated with motivation and reward. This release creates a feeling of satisfaction. And that satisfaction encourages further action. When you identify 3 important priorities and complete them, your brain experiences 3 powerful reward moments throughout the day. These moments strengthen motivation. They reinforce your belief that you are capable of making progress. And they build momentum for the next day. A morning story. Consider the story of a marketing manager named Daniel. For years, Daniel began his mornings by checking email. Every message seemed urgent. By midday he had already responded to dozens of requests. But when he looked at his larger goals, improving his skills, developing new strategies, and growing his career, he realized something troubling. Those priorities rarely received his attention. His days were busy, but they were not focused. So he made one simple change. Each morning, before opening email, he wrote down his 3 most important priorities. These were the tasks that would truly move his work forward. Then he committed to working on them first. The change was remarkable. Within weeks, Daniel began completing projects that had previously been delayed for months. His productivity improved. His confidence increased. And perhaps most importantly, he ended each day with a sense of progress. Not because he worked longer hours, but because he focused on what mattered most. Focus creates freedom. One of the most surprising effects of programming your focus is that it creates a feeling of freedom. Without clear priorities, the mind constantly wonders if something more important is being ignored. You feel mentally scattered. But when you know exactly what matters today, that uncertainty disappears. Your mind relaxes. You can work with full attention, knowing that your energy is being invested wisely. This clarity reduces stress. It allows you to move through the day with calm confidence. Because you know what you are working toward. Aligning daily focus with long-term vision. Over time, This daily practice begins connecting your everyday actions with your larger life goals. Your 3 priorities are not random tasks. They are steps towards something meaningful. A career ambition. A personal project. A healthier lifestyle. A stronger relationship. When your daily focus aligns with your long-term vision, something powerful happens. Progress becomes consistent. Small actions accumulate into significant results. The distance between where you are and where you want to be begins shrinking. All because each morning you chose the right direction. The final piece of the ritual. At this point, the perfect morning habit is complete. You have moved through 4 powerful steps. First, you woke up with intention. Second, you trained your mind toward positivity. Third, you activated your body. Fourth, you programmed your focus. These steps work together like a carefully designed system. Awareness clears the mind. Positivity strengthens emotional resilience. Movement creates energy. Focus directs that energy toward meaningful goals. In just a short amount of time each morning, you have prepared your mind, body, and attention for the day ahead. And when this ritual becomes consistent, it begins to change something deeper. Not just your mornings, but your identity. You become someone who starts the day intentionally. Someone who protects their mindset. Someone who moves with energy and purpose. Someone who directs their focus toward what truly matters. And once that identity becomes part of who you are, success stops feeling like something distant. It becomes something you are building. One intentional morning at a time. Chapter 6. Real-life examples, the morning routines of high performers. Throughout this audiobook, we've explored the structure of the perfect morning habit. You learned how to wake up with intention. You discovered how to train your mind toward positivity. You explored how activating the body increases energy and focus. And you saw how programming your priorities gives your day direction. But there is one final question many listeners often ask. Do successful people really do this? Is the idea of a powerful morning ritual simply a motivational concept? Or is it something that high performers genuinely practice in their everyday lives? The answer is both simple and fascinating. Across many industries, business, athletics, science, writing, and leadership, successful individuals tend to share one powerful characteristic. They guard their mornings carefully. Not because they have extra time. Not because their lives are easier. But because they understand something that many people overlook. How you start your day often determines how you live your life. Let's explore some real-life examples that demonstrate this idea. The writer who protected his first hour. Consider the example of a well-known novelist who struggled early in his career. Like many creative professionals, he found it difficult to maintain focus during the day. Emails, errands, and responsibilities constantly interrupted his work. He often sat down to write but found himself distracted or mentally exhausted. After years of frustration, he made one simple decision. He would protect the first hour of every morning. No phone. No email. No outside distractions. Instead, he would wake up, stretch his body, drink a glass of water, and sit down to write immediately. At first, the results were modest. Some mornings he wrote only a few paragraphs. Other mornings he wrote several pages. But the consistency of the habit began to change something deeper. His brain started associating mornings with creativity and focus. Over time, writing became easier. Ideas flowed faster. And eventually, the books he produced reached millions of readers around the world. When asked about the secret to his productivity, he did not mention complicated strategies. He simply said, "My mornings belong to my most important work." The athlete who started with gratitude. Elite athletes operate in environments filled with pressure. Competition is intense. Expectations are high. And maintaining mental resilience is essential. One Olympic athlete once shared an interesting part of her morning routine. Before every training session, she spent a few minutes practicing gratitude. She would sit quietly and think about the opportunity to train, the strength of her body, and the support of the people around her. This practice may seem small, but it helped her maintain a powerful mental advantage. Instead of approaching training with stress or fear of failure, she approached it with appreciation. That emotional shift changed her mindset. It transformed practice from an obligation into an opportunity. And that mindset allowed her to train with greater focus and joy. When competition day arrived, her mind was already conditioned to stay calm under pressure. Gratitude had quietly strengthened her resilience. The entrepreneur who moved every morning. Entrepreneurs often face unpredictable days. Unexpected challenges appear constantly. Decisions must be made quickly. And stress levels can rise easily. One successful business founder discovered early in his career that his mental clarity depended heavily on his physical energy. When he skipped exercise, his thinking became foggy. When he moved his body, his mind felt sharp. So he designed a simple morning ritual. Every day, before opening his laptop, he spent 15 minutes moving his body. Sometimes he went for a run. Other days he performed a quick workout at home. Nothing extreme. Just consistent movement. This habit created a noticeable difference. He approached business problems with clearer thinking. His energy remained steady throughout the day. And perhaps most importantly, the movement helped him manage stress more effectively. Years later, when asked about his productivity, he explained something simple. My best business decisions happen on days when my body is awake. The leader who chose 3 priorities. In large organizations, leaders often face overwhelming demands. Meetings, emails, reports, and decisions compete for attention from morning until night. One executive discovered that without clear focus, his days quickly filled with urgent but unimportant tasks. So he adopted a simple habit. Every morning, before starting work, he wrote down 3 priorities for the day. Only 3. These priorities represented the actions that would create the greatest impact for his team and organization. Throughout the day, whenever distractions appeared, he returned to those priorities. This practice changed how he worked. Instead of reacting to every request, he stayed aligned with the tasks that truly mattered. Over time, his leadership became more effective. Projects moved forward faster. His team felt clearer about goals and direction. And the secret behind that clarity began each morning with a simple list of 3 priorities. The scientist who valued quiet thinking. In fields like science and research, breakthroughs often require deep thinking. But deep thinking becomes difficult when the mind is constantly interrupted. One respected scientist developed a morning routine that protected his ability to focus. Each day, he began the morning with quiet reflection. No email. No meetings. Just a notebook and a cup of tea. During this time, he reviewed ideas, considered new questions, and explored creative possibilities. Sometimes these sessions produced immediate insights. Other times they simply allowed his mind to wander thoughtfully. But over the years, many of his most important discoveries began during those quiet mornings. By protecting that mental space, he gave his brain the opportunity to think deeply. And deep thinking often leads to remarkable ideas. What these stories have in common. At first glance, these individuals may seem very different. A writer. An athlete. An entrepreneur. A corporate leader. A scientist. Different professions. Different lifestyles. Different challenges. Yet their stories reveal a powerful pattern. Each of them treats the morning as a foundation for the day. They do not allow the first hours to be consumed by distraction. Instead, they use that time intentionally. Some focus on creativity. Others strengthen their mindset. Others activate their bodies. Others set clear priorities. But the principle remains the same. They begin the day on purpose. The compounding effect of morning habits. Another important lesson emerges from these examples. None of these routines created immediate, dramatic transformation. The writer did not become successful overnight. The athlete did not win medals after a single gratitude session. The entrepreneur did not solve every business problem instantly. The results appeared gradually. Day after day. Morning after morning. Small actions repeated consistently began shaping larger outcomes. This is the power of habit. When a behavior becomes part of your daily life, it compounds over time. One intentional morning may feel small. But hundreds of intentional mornings can change the trajectory of a life. You do not need to be extraordinary. There is something else important to understand. These individuals were not born with special morning powers. They did not wake up one day magically disciplined. Like everyone else, they had mornings when they felt tired. Days when motivation was low. Moments when the easier choice was to skip the routine. But what separated them from many others was consistency. They understood that progress does not require perfection. It requires persistence. Showing up again and again. Practicing the habit even when enthusiasm fades. And over time, that persistence builds momentum. The routine becomes automatic. And the benefits become undeniable. Your morning, your future. The stories in this chapter are not meant to suggest that you must copy someone else's routine exactly. Your life is unique. Your goals are personal. Your schedule may be different. But the principle behind these examples is universal. How you begin your day matters. The first minutes after waking up are not just empty time. They are an opportunity to shape your mindset, your energy, and your focus. When used intentionally, those minutes become incredibly powerful. They help you think more clearly, work more effectively, and move closer to the person you want to become. The habit that changes everything. Throughout this audiobook, we have explored a simple but powerful ritual. Wake up with intention. Train your mind toward positivity. Activate your body. Program your focus. This habit does not require hours. It does not demand perfection. But when practiced consistently, it quietly reshapes the way you approach life. Because mornings are not just the beginning of the day. They are the starting point of your momentum. And momentum, once built, carries you forward. Day by day. Decision by decision. Morning by morning. Until one day you realize something remarkable. The small ritual you began practicing has become part of who you are. And the life you once imagined for the future is slowly becoming your reality. Chapter 7. The compound effect of one habit. There is a quiet force that shapes nearly every success story you have ever heard. It rarely makes headlines. It rarely feels dramatic. And in the beginning, it often looks almost insignificant. Yet over time, it becomes one of the most powerful forces in human life. This force is called the compound effect. The compound effect is the principle that small, consistent actions, repeated day after day, eventually create extraordinary results. At first, the changes are invisible. You wake up one morning and practice your ritual. Nothing dramatic happens. The next morning, you do it again. Still, nothing spectacular appears. A week passes. Your life looks mostly the same. But beneath the surface, something subtle is happening. Your brain is learning. Your habits are strengthening. Your identity is slowly shifting. The compound effect works quietly, patiently, almost invisibly. But over time, its power becomes undeniable. And when it comes to the perfect morning habit, this principle is everything. Why small changes feel so unimportant? Human beings are wired to look for immediate results. We like dramatic transformations. Quick improvements. Fast success. But habits do not usually work that way. The impact of a single habit on a single day is often very small. Practicing gratitude one morning does not instantly transform your life. Moving your body for 5 minutes does not suddenly make you unstoppable. Writing down 3 priorities does not immediately produce massive success. And because the results seem small, many people give up too early. They assume the habit is not powerful. They assume the change is not working. But what they fail to see is that habits operate on a completely different timeline. They operate through accumulation. Each small action adds a tiny improvement. And those improvements begin stacking on top of one another. Day after day. Week after week. Month after month. Until eventually, the results are no longer small. They become life-changing. The slight edge. Imagine 2 individuals beginning their mornings in different ways. The first person wakes up and immediately checks their phone. They scroll through messages. They absorb news and social media. They rush into the day reacting to whatever appears. The second person wakes up and practices the perfect morning habit. They breathe intentionally. They train their mindset with gratitude and visualization. They activate their body. They choose 3 priorities that matter most. On the first day, the difference between these 2 individuals seems tiny. Both go to work. Both complete tasks. Both live their lives. But the difference is real. One begins the day scattered. The other begins the day centered. And that small difference affects decisions. It affects focus. It affects emotional reactions. Now imagine that difference repeated every day. For a week. For a month. For a year. Suddenly, the gap begins to widen. The second person develops stronger discipline. Better focus. Greater emotional stability. More consistent progress. The small morning habit begins influencing everything else. Not in a dramatic explosion. But through steady momentum. This is the compound effect in action. The hidden mathematics of habits. There is a fascinating way to understand the power of compounding. Imagine improving yourself by just 1% each day. 1% is tiny. Almost invisible. But when that improvement compounds daily, the results become remarkable. After 1 year of improving by 1% each day, the overall improvement becomes enormous. Not because of sudden leaps. But because each improvement builds upon the previous one. Habits work the same way. Your morning ritual is not just about one day. It is about the trajectory of your life. Every time you wake up intentionally, your discipline strengthens. Every time you practice gratitude, your brain becomes slightly more optimistic. Every time you move your body, your energy system improves. Every time you set priorities, your focus sharpens. These tiny improvements accumulate. And eventually, the version of you that exists months or years from now becomes far stronger than the version that exists today. The invisible phase. One of the most difficult parts of building a new habit is something called the invisible phase. This is the period when you are putting in effort, but the results are not yet obvious. Think about planting a seed in the ground. For days or even weeks, nothing appears on the surface. If you did not know better, you might assume nothing was happening. But beneath the soil, the seed is developing roots. Those roots grow deeper and stronger before the plant ever appears above the ground. Habits work the same way. In the beginning, the results are hidden. Your brain is building new neural pathways. Your identity is shifting slowly. Your discipline is strengthening. Then, one day, the growth appears. Your mornings feel easier. Your focus becomes sharper. Your energy improves. Your progress accelerates. What once required effort now feels natural. But that breakthrough only happens because of the work done during the invisible phase. Identity compounds too. The compound effect does not only change your results. It changes who you believe you are. Every action you repeat becomes evidence for a particular identity. When you practice the perfect morning habit consistently, your brain receives a powerful message. I am someone who starts the day intentionally. I am someone who takes care of my mindset. I am someone who moves with discipline. I am someone who focuses on what matters. Over time, these beliefs become stronger. And once your identity shifts, behavior becomes easier. You no longer force yourself to perform the habit. It becomes part of who you are. And when identity changes, life changes with it. The snowball effect. Imagine rolling a small snowball down a hill. At first, the snowball is tiny. It moves slowly. But as it rolls, it collects more snow. It grows larger. Heavier. Faster. Soon the snowball becomes powerful enough to move almost effortlessly. Habits follow the same pattern. The first few days may feel slow. You must remind yourself to practice the ritual. You must resist the urge to skip it. But with each repetition, the habit gains momentum. Eventually, the routine becomes automatic. Your brain expects it. Your body moves naturally through it. And the energy it creates fuels everything else you do. The power of starting small. One of the most important lessons of the compound effect is this. You do not need to make massive changes to transform your life. You only need to start with something small. Small enough to repeat. Small enough to sustain. Small enough to practice every single day. The perfect morning habit works because it is simple. It does not require hours of effort. It does not demand perfection. But it does require consistency. And consistency is what unlocks the compound effect. The future version of you. Take a moment to imagine two versions of your future. In the first version, you continue waking up the way you always have. The mornings remain rushed. The phone remains the first thing you check. The day begins in reaction mode. Years pass. Life continues, but the sense of control never fully arrives. Now imagine a different future. In this version, you begin practicing the perfect morning habit tomorrow morning. Not perfectly. Not dramatically. Just consistently. One day at a time. After a few weeks, the routine feels easier. After a few months, your mindset feels stronger. After a year, your discipline becomes part of who you are. And over time, the compound effect of that simple ritual begins shaping the direction of your life. The difference between these two futures begins with something incredibly small. A decision. A morning. A habit. The quiet transformation. The compound effect rarely feels exciting in the moment. But it is one of the most reliable forces for long-term success. Because while others chase dramatic change and lose motivation quickly, you will be building momentum. While others rely on bursts of inspiration, you will be relying on consistency. And slowly, quietly, your life will begin transforming. Not overnight. But inevitably. One morning at a time. In the next chapter, we will take this idea even further. Chapter 8. The 30-Day Morning Habit Challenge. By now, you understand the power of the perfect morning habit. You know how waking up with intention changes the way the mind begins the day. You've seen how gratitude and positive mental training shape your emotional state. You understand how movement activates your energy and sharpens your thinking. And you know how programming your focus directs that energy toward what truly matters. But knowledge alone does not change lives. Action does. You can listen to every idea in this audiobook. You can understand every principle. But the real transformation only begins when you practice the habit yourself. That is why this chapter introduces something simple, practical, and powerful. The 30-Day Morning Habit Challenge. This challenge is designed to help you turn the ideas in this audiobook into a real, daily routine. Not for a lifetime commitment. Not for a year. Just 30 days. Because 30 days is long enough to create momentum, but short enough to feel achievable. 30 mornings. 30 opportunities to practice the ritual. 30 small steps toward a new identity. By the end of those 30 days, something remarkable often happens. The routine begins to feel natural. Your mind begins to expect the ritual. And the habit that once required effort becomes part of who you are. Why 30 days matters. Psychologists often talk about habit formation as a process of repetition. The brain builds habits by strengthening neural pathways through consistent practice. Every time you repeat a behavior, those pathways become slightly stronger. At first, the pathway is weak. The brain resists. You forget. You feel tempted to skip the routine. But with repetition, the pathway grows stronger. Eventually, the brain begins expecting the habit. It becomes automatic. 30 days is not a magical number, but it represents a powerful starting point. 30 days allows the brain to experience the routine repeatedly. It allows you to see the early benefits of the practice. And perhaps most importantly, it allows you to build confidence in yourself. Because every day you complete the ritual, you prove something important. You are capable of discipline. You are capable of consistency. And you are capable of becoming the person you want to be. The simple structure of the challenge. The 30-day morning habit challenge is built around the 4 steps you have learned in this audiobook. Every morning, you will practice the same simple sequence. Step 1, wake up with intention. Instead of grabbing your phone immediately, pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Become aware of the moment. Remind yourself that a new day has begun. This small pause shifts your brain from reaction to awareness. Step 2, train your mind for positivity. Spend a few minutes practicing gratitude, visualization, or affirmations. Think of 3 things you appreciate. Picture yourself succeeding today. Repeat a simple affirmation that strengthens your identity. This step directs your emotional state toward optimism and possibility. Step 3, activate your body. Move your body for 5 to 10 minutes. Stretch. Walk. Perform simple exercises. Wake up your muscles and increase your circulation. This movement signals your brain that the day has begun. Step 4, program your focus. Write down the 3 most important priorities for the day. Not everything you could do. Just the 3 things that truly matter. These priorities become your compass for the hours ahead. The entire ritual can take as little as 10 to 15 minutes. But the effect can shape the entire day. The first week, the adjustment phase. The first 7 days of the challenge are often the hardest. This is the period when your brain is adjusting to something new. Old habits will try to pull you back. The phone will feel tempting. Your mind may say things like, "Just skip it today. You can start tomorrow. This isn't necessary." These thoughts are normal. They are not signs of failure. They are simply the brain protecting its existing patterns. Remember, habits create comfort. And when you introduce a new routine, the brain initially resists. The key during the first week is simple. Do not aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. Even if the ritual feels awkward. Even if it feels short. Even if your mind wanders. Just practice the steps. The goal is not to perform the ritual perfectly. The goal is to show up. The second week, the awareness phase. Around the second week, something interesting begins to happen. The ritual starts feeling slightly more familiar. You no longer have to remind yourself of every step. Your mind begins expecting the pause after waking up. Gratitude becomes easier to recall. Movement feels more natural. You may also begin noticing subtle changes in your mindset. Your mornings feel calmer. Your focus improves. Your reactions to stress become slightly more balanced. These improvements may be small, but they are meaningful. They are signs that the compound effect has begun. The third week, the momentum phase. By the third week, momentum begins building. The routine feels less like an obligation and more like a normal part of your day. You may notice that skipping the ritual actually feels strange. Your mind begins associating mornings with clarity and preparation. You may also experience increased productivity. Because you are starting the day with clear priorities, you spend less time drifting between tasks. Your energy improves because your body is activated early. And your emotional resilience strengthens because your mind begins the day in a positive state. This is when many people realize something surprising. The ritual does not just change the morning. It changes the entire day. The fourth week, the identity shift. During the final week of the challenge, something deeper begins to happen. Your identity begins shifting. You stop thinking of the ritual as something you are trying to do. Instead, it becomes something you simply do. You wake up intentionally. You train your mindset. You activate your body. You set your priorities. This is who you are becoming. And once identity changes, behavior becomes easier to maintain. Because you are no longer forcing yourself to perform the habit. You are expressing the person you have become. Tracking your progress. One powerful way to strengthen the 30-day challenge is to track your progress. Create a simple calendar or journal. Each morning you complete the ritual, mark the day. This simple act reinforces consistency. It also creates something psychologists call a streak effect. Once you see several days completed in a row, you feel motivated to continue. You do not want to break the streak. And that motivation helps carry you through moments of resistance. What to expect by day 30. By the end of the challenge, the changes you experience may not be dramatic. But they will be real. Your mornings will feel more intentional. Your mindset will feel more positive. Your energy will feel more stable. Your focus will become clearer. And perhaps most importantly, you will develop a new belief about yourself. The belief that you are capable of shaping your own day. Not through massive effort. But through consistent, intentional habits. And once you experience that control in your mornings, something powerful begins happening. You start applying the same principle to other parts of your life. Your habits improve. Your discipline strengthens. Your goals begin moving forward. All from a simple ritual practiced each morning. The only rule of the challenge. There is only one rule for the 30-day morning habit challenge. Do not miss 2 days in a row. Missing one day is normal. Life happens. Schedules change. Energy fluctuates. But missing 2 days in a row allows the old habit pattern to return. So if you skip one morning, simply return to the ritual the next day. Consistency always beats perfection. The invitation. Right now, you are standing at the beginning of a simple but powerful opportunity. 30 mornings. 30 small choices. 30 moments where you decide how the day begins. You do not need to change your entire life today. You only need to start tomorrow morning. Wake up with intention. Train your mind for positivity. Activate your body. Program your focus. Then repeat the process the next day. And the next. And the next. Because the transformation you are seeking is not hidden in complicated strategies. It is hidden in the quiet power of a habit repeated daily. One morning at a time. Chapter 9. Obstacles that will try to stop you. Every meaningful change in life encounters resistance. It doesn't matter whether you are building a business, training for a marathon, learning a new skill, or creating a powerful morning ritual. The moment you begin moving in a new direction, something pushes back. Sometimes that resistance comes from the outside world. Busy schedules. Unexpected responsibilities. Constant distractions. But more often, the resistance comes from somewhere much closer. It comes from your own mind. This may sound discouraging at first. But in reality, it's completely normal. Your brain is designed to conserve energy and protect familiar routines. Habits that already exist feel safe, predictable, comfortable. When you introduce a new habit, even one that benefits you, your brain initially interprets it as a disruption. And disruption creates resistance. This is why so many people start powerful habits with enthusiasm, only to abandon them days or weeks later. Not because the habit isn't valuable, but because the obstacles appear stronger than expected. If you want the perfect morning habit to transform your life, you must understand these obstacles clearly. Because once you recognize them, you can overcome them. And once you overcome them, the habit becomes stronger. Let's explore the most common challenges that will try to stop you, and how to defeat them. Obstacle 1, the voice of laziness. The first obstacle is one that every human being encounters. Laziness. Now, the word laziness often sounds harsh. But in reality, it's simply the brain's desire to conserve effort. Your brain prefers the easiest option available. Sleeping longer is easier than waking up intentionally. Checking your phone is easier than practicing gratitude. Skipping movement is easier than activating your body. So when the alarm rings in the morning, a quiet voice may appear in your mind. Just 5 more minutes. You can skip the routine today. It doesn't matter if you start tomorrow. This voice can sound surprisingly reasonable. But it is not guiding you toward growth. It is guiding you toward comfort. The key to overcoming laziness is understanding one simple truth. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Most people believe they must feel motivated before they act. But the opposite is usually true. Once you begin the ritual, once you take the first step, motivation often follows. Energy increases. Focus improves. And the routine becomes easier to continue. This is why the most powerful strategy against laziness is simple. Start small. When the alarm rings, do not think about completing the entire ritual. Just sit up. Take a deep breath. Begin the first step. Once you start, the rest often follows naturally. Obstacle 2, inconsistency. The second obstacle is inconsistency. Many people practice a powerful habit for a few days. Then they skip a morning. Then another. Soon the routine fades away. This happens because habits depend on repetition. Each time you perform the ritual, the neural pathway strengthens. But each time you skip it, that pathway weakens slightly. Over time, inconsistent practice prevents the habit from becoming automatic. The solution is not perfection. The solution is rhythm. Create a rhythm that your brain can expect. Wake up at a consistent time when possible. Perform the ritual in the same order. Repeat the same sequence daily. This rhythm signals to your brain that the behavior is stable and reliable. And stability helps habits grow stronger. It is also important to remember something encouraging. Missing one day does not destroy progress. Life will always include interruptions. What matters is returning to the habit quickly. Never miss the ritual twice in a row. This simple rule protects the consistency of the routine. Obstacle 3, distractions. We live in one of the most distracting eras in human history. Phones buzz constantly. Notifications compete for attention. News, social media, and messages appear the moment we wake up. These distractions are not random. They are designed to capture attention. And they often succeed. The danger of morning distractions is that they hijack your focus before your mind has fully awakened. Instead of beginning the day with intention, you begin it with reaction. The solution is surprisingly simple. Create a protected space in your morning. For the first 10 to 15 minutes after waking up, avoid digital devices. Do not check messages. Do not scroll through social media. Do not read the news. Allow your mind to wake up without external interference. This small boundary gives your brain the chance to establish focus before the world begins demanding attention. Many people who adopt this rule experience a dramatic difference in their mornings. Because instead of reacting to the outside world immediately, they begin the day on their own terms. Obstacle 4: Lack of immediate results. Another obstacle that stops many people is impatience. Human beings naturally want quick rewards. We enjoy seeing immediate progress. But habits rarely produce dramatic results overnight. Practicing the perfect morning habit for 3 days may not feel life-changing. Even 2 weeks may feel modest. And during this period, your mind may begin questioning the effort. Is this really working? Does this habit actually matter? These doubts are common. But they appear because the brain focuses on short-term feedback. The true power of habits reveals itself through the compound effect. Small improvements accumulate slowly. Momentum builds quietly. Then one day, the difference becomes obvious. You feel calmer under stress. You focus more easily. You approach challenges with greater confidence. The key to overcoming impatience is remembering that habits operate on a long timeline. Every repetition is an investment. And investments grow over time. Obstacle 5: Emotional resistance. Some mornings will feel easy. But others will feel difficult. You may wake up feeling tired, discouraged, overwhelmed by responsibilities. During those mornings, the ritual may feel unnecessary. You may think, what difference will this make today? But those difficult mornings are actually the most important ones. Because habits are strongest when they remain consistent during emotional fluctuations. Anyone can practice discipline when life feels smooth. True discipline appears when life feels challenging. On the days when you least feel like practicing the ritual. That is the moment it becomes most powerful. Because you are proving something important to yourself. You are proving that your habits are stronger than your emotions. The myth of perfect discipline. One misconception about successful people is that they possess flawless discipline. We imagine them waking up every morning with unstoppable motivation. But reality is different. Even the most disciplined individuals experience resistance. They feel tired. They feel distracted. They feel tempted to skip their routines. The difference is not the absence of resistance. The difference is their response to it. They understand that resistance is part of the process. Instead of fighting it emotionally, they simply follow the routine. The habit becomes automatic. Like brushing their teeth. Or tying their shoes. And because the behavior is automatic, resistance loses its power. Building systems that protect the habit. One of the most effective ways to overcome obstacles is to build systems that support your routine. Instead of relying on willpower alone, design your environment to make the habit easier. For example, place a glass of water beside your bed to encourage hydration in the morning. Lay out workout clothes the night before. Keep a notebook nearby for writing priorities. Move your phone away from the bed so it does not become the first thing you reach for. These small adjustments reduce friction. They make the habit easier to begin. And when habits are easy to begin, they are easier to maintain. Remembering your why. Every powerful habit requires a reason. A deeper motivation. Why do you want to build the perfect morning habit? Is it to improve your productivity? To strengthen your mindset? To create more control over your life? To pursue a dream that matters deeply to you? Whenever resistance appears, reconnect with that reason. Because purpose creates energy. And energy fuels consistency. The turning point. There is a moment in every habit-building journey when the struggle begins fading. The routine feels natural. The benefits become clear. The habit shifts from effort to identity. That turning point only arrives for those who persist through the obstacles. Those who continue when laziness whispers. Those who return after inconsistency. Those who protect their mornings from distractions. Those who remain patient while results grow slowly. If you continue practicing the ritual, that turning point will arrive for you too. And once it does, the habit becomes one of the most powerful forces in your life. Chapter 10. Designing your personal morning ritual. By now, you understand the power of mornings. You've learned how a simple ritual can influence your mindset, your energy, and your focus for the entire day. You've seen how small daily actions compound into powerful long-term change. You've explored the obstacles that try to stop new habits from forming. And you've discovered the importance of consistency. But now we arrive at a very important truth. There is no single, perfect, morning routine that works for everyone. Yes, the principles we've discussed are powerful and universal. But your life is unique. Your schedule is unique. Your goals, personality, responsibilities, and energy levels are unique. Which means the most effective morning ritual for you is not a copy of someone else's routine. It is a design that fits your life. Think of the perfect morning habit not as a strict rulebook, but as a framework. Within that framework, you have the freedom to build something personal. Something realistic. Something sustainable. Because the most powerful habit is the one you can practice every day. Why personalization matters. Many people fail with morning routines for a simple reason. They try to copy routines that don't fit their lives. Perhaps they read about a highly successful entrepreneur who wakes up at 4:30 in the morning. Or an athlete who spends 90 minutes exercising before sunrise. Or a productivity expert who meditates, journals, reads, and plans for 2 hours every morning. Inspired by these stories, they attempt to replicate the same routine. But after a few days, reality appears. The schedule doesn't fit. Energy levels crash. Responsibilities interfere. Soon the routine collapses entirely. The lesson here is important. Success is not about copying someone else's morning. It's about designing one that works for you. The 4 core elements. Even though your ritual can be personal, it still revolves around the 4 core elements we explored earlier. These elements form the backbone of the perfect morning habit. 1. Intention. Beginning the day consciously instead of reactively. 2. Mindset. Training your thoughts toward positivity and possibility. 3. Movement. Activating your body to increase energy and mental clarity. 4. Focus. Choosing the priorities that guide your day. As long as your routine contains these 4 elements, you are building a powerful foundation. The exact way you practice them can vary. And that flexibility is what allows the habit to fit your life. Step 1. Choose a realistic time. The first step in designing your ritual is choosing when it will happen. Many people believe a powerful morning routine requires waking up extremely early. But this is not always necessary. The real goal is simple. Wake up early enough to give yourself time before the world begins demanding your attention. For some people, this may mean waking up 30 minutes earlier than usual. For others, it may mean setting aside 15 intentional minutes before starting work. What matters is not the specific hour. What matters is that you create space for the ritual. Because even a short window of intentional time can transform the way your day begins. Step 2. Decide the length. Your morning ritual does not need to be long to be effective. In fact, shorter routines are often easier to sustain. You might design a 10-minute ritual. 2 minutes of intentional breathing. 3 minutes of gratitude or affirmations. 3 minutes of stretching or light movement. 2 minutes to write your 3 priorities. Or you might design a 30-minute ritual. 5 minutes of quiet reflection. 10 minutes of journaling or visualization. 10 minutes of movement or exercise. 5 minutes of planning your day. Both routines can be powerful. The key is choosing a length that feels realistic for your lifestyle. Remember, consistency matters far more than duration. A 10-minute ritual practice daily is far more powerful than a 1-hour ritual practiced occasionally. Step 3. Choose your mindset practice. The mindset portion of your ritual can take many forms. The goal is simply to guide your thoughts toward positivity and intention. Some people prefer gratitude practice. They list 3 things they appreciate. This practice trains the brain to notice abundance rather than scarcity. Others prefer visualization. They imagine the day unfolding successfully. They picture themselves handling challenges with calm confidence. This mental rehearsal prepares the brain for success. Others enjoy affirmations. They repeat empowering statements that strengthen identity. Statements such as, "I am focused and disciplined. I approach challenges with clarity. I am building the life I want." Some people even combine all 3. The important thing is choosing a method that resonates with you. When the practice feels meaningful, it becomes easier to maintain. Movement is another flexible part of your ritual. It does not need to be intense exercise. The goal is simply to wake up the body and stimulate the brain. You might stretch gently. Take a short walk. Perform a few push-ups or squats. Practice yoga. Dance to music. Do light mobility exercises. The exact activity matters less than the result. Movement increases blood flow. It activates your muscles. It signals to your brain that the day has begun. Even 5 minutes of movement can significantly improve energy levels. And when your body feels awake, your mind often follows. Step 5. Define your focus ritual. The final element of the morning habit is programming your focus. This step brings clarity to the day ahead. Without it, your day can easily drift into reaction mode. One simple method is writing down 3 priorities. Not a long to-do list. Just the 3 actions that matter most. These priorities act as anchors for your attention. Whenever distractions appear, you return to them. Another approach is journaling briefly about your goals. Some people prefer reviewing their long-term vision. Others like writing a short plan for the day. Whatever method you choose, the goal remains the same. Give your mind a clear direction. Because when the mind knows where it is going, it moves forward with greater confidence. Designing a ritual that evolves. Another important truth about habits is that they evolve over time. The ritual you begin today does not need to remain exactly the same forever. As your life changes, your routine can adapt. You might add new practices. You might simplify certain steps. You might extend the time as your discipline grows. What matters is maintaining the core intention. Beginning each day with awareness, positivity, movement, and focus. This flexibility prevents the ritual from becoming rigid or overwhelming. Instead, it remains a living part of your life. Making the ritual enjoyable. One of the most overlooked elements of habit design is enjoyment. If your ritual feels like punishment, it becomes difficult to maintain. But when it feels meaningful and enjoyable, consistency becomes natural. You might play calming music while practicing gratitude. Drink a warm cup of tea during reflection. Step outside to breathe fresh morning air. Watch the sunrise during your stretch routine. These small details transform the ritual from a chore into a moment you actually look forward to. And when habits become enjoyable, they sustain themselves. Your morning as a sacred space. Think of your morning ritual as a protected space. A few minutes each day that belong entirely to you. A space where you prepare your mind before the world begins asking for your attention. A space where you strengthen your identity and reconnect with your goals. In a busy world filled with noise, this small sanctuary can become incredibly powerful. It reminds you that your life is not controlled entirely by external demands. You have the ability to shape how each day begins. The habit that shapes the day. By designing your own morning ritual, you are not simply creating a routine. You are creating a foundation. A foundation for clarity. A foundation for discipline. A foundation for growth. And once that foundation becomes stable, every other area of life begins improving. Because the way you begin your day influences the way you live it. Conclusion. Tomorrow morning begins everything. Right now, you are standing at a quiet but powerful moment. You have listened to the ideas. You have explored the science of habits. You have learned how mornings shape the direction of the day. You have discovered the structure of the perfect morning habit. And you have seen how small actions, repeated consistently, can transform a life. But there is one truth that sits at the center of everything we've discussed. Change does not happen when you learn something new. Change happens when you practice something new. Knowledge can inspire you. But only action can transform you. And the beautiful thing about the habit you've learned in this audiobook is that it does not require dramatic effort. It does not demand massive sacrifice. It begins with something incredibly simple. A morning. The power of a single decision. Most people think life changes through big, dramatic moments. A breakthrough opportunity. A huge accomplishment. A sudden turning point. But in reality, life often changes in much quieter ways. Through small decisions. Through daily actions. Through habits that slowly reshape the direction of your life. The perfect morning habit is one of those small decisions. It may look simple on the surface. Just a few minutes of intention. A few minutes of gratitude. A few minutes of movement. A few minutes of planning. But these small moments do something powerful. They change how the mind wakes up. Instead of reacting to the world immediately, you begin by preparing yourself for it. Instead of letting the day control you, you take control of how the day begins. And that shift, repeated every morning, quietly transforms everything else. A different kind of morning. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. The alarm rings. But instead of grabbing your phone immediately, you pause. You take a deep breath. You remind yourself that a new day has begun. Your mind begins the day with awareness instead of chaos. You think of 3 things you are grateful for. Simple things. Maybe the opportunity to grow. Maybe the people in your life. Maybe the chance to try again today. Your perspective shifts. Instead of starting the day stressed or distracted, you begin it with appreciation. You move your body. Just a few stretches. A short walk. A few exercises. Your blood begins circulating. Your energy rises. Your brain becomes alert. Then you write down 3 priorities. 3 things that truly matter today. Not everything you could do. Just what matters most. Now the day has direction. Now the day has purpose. And when you step into the world, you are not stepping into it blindly. You are stepping into it prepared. The ripple effect. What makes the perfect morning habit so powerful is the ripple effect it creates. A focused morning leads to a focused day. A focused day leads to better decisions. Better decisions lead to meaningful progress. And meaningful progress builds confidence. Confidence strengthens discipline. And discipline strengthens identity. Soon, the person you are becoming feels stronger. Calmer. More intentional. More in control. Not because your life suddenly became easier. But because you changed how it begins. One morning becomes many. The first morning you practice the ritual may feel small. Almost ordinary. But the real power appears when that morning becomes 2. Then 3. Then 7. Then 30. Each repetition strengthens the habit. Each repetition reinforces your identity. Each repetition adds momentum. Eventually, the ritual becomes something you no longer need to force. It becomes part of who you are. You are someone who wakes up intentionally. Someone who trains their mind. Someone who activates their body. Someone who begins the day with focus. And when that identity becomes real, the transformation becomes sustainable. The person you are becoming. Think about the version of yourself you want to become. Perhaps you want more discipline. More clarity. More control over your time. Maybe you want to pursue goals you've been postponing. Maybe you want to feel more energized and focused throughout the day. Maybe you simply want to feel less overwhelmed by life. The truth is, the person you want to become is not created overnight. That person is built through habits. Through small actions that align with the identity you desire. The perfect morning habit is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to begin building that identity. Because every morning gives you a new opportunity to practice it. The quiet opportunity waiting. While you've been listening to this audiobook, time has continued moving forward. Another day will end. Night will arrive. And eventually, morning will come again. Just like it always does. But tomorrow morning will carry something special. An opportunity. An opportunity to begin differently. Not dramatically. Not perfectly. Just intentionally. You don't need to wake up earlier than everyone else. You don't need an elaborate routine. You only need a few minutes. A few minutes to pause. A few minutes to train your mind. A few minutes to move your body. A few minutes to decide what truly matters. And from those few minutes, the rest of your day begins. A final thought. Years from now, you may look back at your life and try to identify the moment things began changing. You may think about a decision you made. A goal you pursued. A habit you started. And it may surprise you how simple that moment was. It may have been a quiet morning. A moment when you chose not to grab your phone. A moment when you chose to breathe, reflect, move, and focus instead. A moment when you decided to begin the day on purpose. That moment might seem small. But small moments, repeated daily, shape extraordinary lives. Tomorrow morning. So tonight, when you finish this audiobook and prepare to rest, remember something simple. You do not need to transform your entire life tomorrow. You only need to transform how it begins. When the alarm rings. Pause. Breathe. Train your mind. Move your body. Choose your focus. Then step into the day with intention. Because the perfect morning habit is not just a routine. It is a quiet promise you make to yourself. A promise that each new day will begin with awareness, strength, and purpose. And that promise begins tomorrow morning.